Hey guys, tonight we start a journey across 2 centuries of suffering, recovery, and shadows. A tale of one molecule that rescued millions on bloody battlefields, eased the final moments of the terminally ill, and at the same time sparked addiction epidemics that ruined whole generations. This is the story of morphine, the pain reliever that transformed medicine permanently. But before morphine turned into the wonder drug we recognize now, before it stocked hospital halls and army medical bags, it originated as ancient droplets seeping from a basic flower. And what people did with those droplets would redefine the core of medicine, conflict, and culture. So before we jump into this amazing narrative together, I have a question for you. If you get pulled into this account, if you sense that spark of interest or that urge to continue, please pause for a second to press the subscribe button and like this video. And I'm truly interested. Where are you as you hear this? Are you snug in bed, earbuds in, allowing the day to slip away? Are you on a lengthy road trip, seeing the freeway lights streak by? Leave a comment and share. I enjoy reading your responses. And truthfully, your experiences make producing these videos far more rewarding. Now, lower those lights if possible. Settle in. Perhaps switch on a fan for that gentle, constant buzz. And let's journey back through time. Visualize this. Mesopotamia, 3,400 years before Christ's birth, the birthplace of civilization. People have recently mastered writing, constructing cities, and forming laws. And in the lush valleys between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Sumerians are growing something remarkable, a flower with fragile petals from white to rich purple, waving in the warm desert breeze. They name it holgil. In their old tongue, it translates to the plant of joy. Now picture yourself as a Sumerian farmer. The sun is harsh, pounding on your back while you toil in the fields. Your hands are rough and cut. Your body throbs from the endless work. But you possess knowledge your neighboring villagers lack. You understand that if you grab a keen blade and gently cut the green seed pod of this specific flower, just enough but not too much, something wondrous occurs. A thick, sticky white sap starts to leak out, like the plant's own tears. You gather this sap in clay vessels, observing as it turns brown in the sunlight, becoming a resin-like material. That evening, when the soreness in your muscles grows intolerable, you scrape a small bit of this dried sap, mix it with water, and consume it. In moments, something extraordinary takes place. The pain doesn't simply lessen, it shifts. Your body grows lighter. The discomfort fades like dawn fog. A deep sense of calm envelops you. And for the first time in weeks, you rest soundly, without dreams, cradled by what the Greeks would eventually name Morpheus, the deity of dreams. This is opium, and for the following 5,000 years, it would serve as humanity's nearest ally in battling pain. But this is where the narrative becomes captivating. Opium didn't remain in Mesopotamia, it spread. The ancient Egyptians were completely fascinated by it. Archaeological findings reveal that Egyptian healers recommended opium for issues ranging from fussy infants to war injuries. They blended it with honey, wine, and rare spices. The Ebers Papyrus, among the oldest surviving medical texts from 1500 BC, lists over 700 treatments, and opium appears in many of them. Egyptian parents would apply opium-mixed mixtures to their babies' gums to quiet their cries. Can you picture it? Oh, the infant's restless. Just offer a bit of opium. Different era, huh? The ancient Greeks elevated opium use to an entirely new stage. Greek doctors like Hippocrates, indeed the father of medicine, recorded opium's strong impacts. He termed it opion, meaning plant juice, and suggested it for ailments from internal disorders to plagues. Greek fighters going into combat would bring opium, aware that if injured, it could mean the difference between perishing in torment or fading into serene oblivion. Then the Romans arrived, and opium grew almost trendy among the upper class. Roman healers like Galen, whose writings on medicine would influence the West for over 1,000 years, devised complex formulas combining opium with all sorts of things. He invented a mixture called theriac, which included opium plus dozens of other components: snake meat, powdered jewels, unusual herbs. It was meant as a universal remedy, and rich Romans spent fortunes on it. Emperors maintained private stocks. It was like the premium health boost of the ancient era. Except this one truly helped, at least for pain. But across all these eras, humanity dealt with one huge lethal issue. No one could regulate the amount. Consider this briefly. You're an ancient healer, and a wounded warrior reaches you, yelling in pain from a blade injury. You know opium can aid, but how much do you provide? The crude opium from one poppy patch might be very strong. From another, it could be mild. There's no uniformity, no measurement method. You're basically estimating. Too little, and your patient endures unnecessarily. Too much, and you see them cease breathing before your eyes. This doubt troubled medical workers for thousands of years. Old writings are packed with cautions about opium's hazards next to a claim for its advantages. The renowned Persian doctor Avicenna, writing around the year 1000, cautioned that opium could act as both the arm of rescue and the arm of demise. And he was correct. Unintended overdoses were sadly frequent. Mothers attempting to calm crying babies occasionally gave excess and awoke to silent, cold children. Warriors dosed with opium for battle wounds would fall into coma and never stir. Jump ahead to 1527. A Swiss doctor and alchemist named Paracelsus. His full name was Philippus Aureolus Theophrastus Bombastus von Hohenheim, possibly the most ornate name in medical records, developed something called laudanum. He mixed opium and alcohol, forming a strong liquid that was simpler to dose and give than raw opium. Paracelsus was unusual, to say the least. He wandered Europe with a large sword that supposedly held opium in its handle, and he once claimed he had a secret remedy better than all others. That remedy was laudanum. Paracelsus passed in 1541, perhaps from tumbling off a ledge while intoxicated. The records are vague, but his laudanum recipe endured. By the 1600s, it was improved and made popular by Thomas Sydenham, an English doctor often dubbed the English Hippocrates. Sydenham's laudanum became the aspirin of the 17th century. Got a cough? Laudanum. Diarrhea? Laudanum. Pain? Laudanum. Trouble sleeping? You got it. Laudanum. It was recommended for nearly everything, and it helped, kind of. See, laudanum was more reliable than raw opium, but it still had that basic flaw. Nobody truly grasped what they were handling. They didn't know opium held several active elements. They lacked knowledge of alkaloids or molecular forms. They were aiming blindly, hoping to strike the mark. And too frequently, they failed. By the late 1700s, opium and laudanum were widespread in Europe and America. You could purchase them at any drugstore. no script required. Working-class households in England used opium like we use non-prescription pain meds today. It was affordable, legal, and the only potent pain relief around. Mothers gave it to their kids. Factory laborers took it to endure grueling 12-hour days. The old used it for sore joints. But here's the grim side that folks were starting to grasp. Opium didn't merely remove pain. It removed something more. Regular users found they required increasing amounts for the same result. They learned that stopping caused their bodies to rebel with awful signs: trembling, perspiring, nausea, pain fiercer than the original issue. The term addiction wasn't invented for years, but the issue was very real, and it was shattering lives. Doctors then faced an unsolvable bind. They had injured soldiers, patients with agonizing cancers, women perishing in labor, all shrieking in torment. Opium was the sole help, but they also saw patients grow reliant, lives fall apart, families break as parents became bound to the substance. One British doctor wrote in 1795, "Opium is a required evil, but an evil still. We preserve the body while tainting the spirit." The medical field craved an answer. They sought something that offered opium's gains without its erratic threats. They needed to know what was in that milky poppy fluid. They needed to separate the exact compound for pain relief, to quantify it, manage it, refine it. They needed someone daring enough or reckless enough to hazard their life seeking that solution. Someone ready to test not only on animals but on themselves. Someone prepared to face death in a dimly lit lab and think, "Let's try this." And in a modest pharmacy in Paderborn, Germany, as the 18th century yielded to the 19th, that person was emerging. He wasn't a renowned professor or a rich scientist with advanced equipment. He was 20, an orphan, serving as a pharmacist's assistant. His name was Friedrich Wilhelm Adam Sertürner, and what he was about to uncover in his simple space, laboring late with the most basic tools, would alter medicine's path forever. But it would also almost end him. And in the end, it would render him both a praised savior of humanity and a casualty of his invention. That young man's account, his discovery, his brush with death, his success, and his sorrowful close, that's our next stop. Because morphine didn't emerge in a sudden insight. It arose from fixation, separation, and a readiness to stake one's life for understanding. And the account of how Sertürner pulled the first pure alkaloid from any plant, how he experimented on himself and 3 companions in a frightening trial that went terribly awry, how he was overlooked and rejected for years before gaining notice. That's a tale of scientific brilliance and poignant irony. So settle in, because in the upcoming section, we're entering that tiny pharmacy in Paderborn, into the thoughts of a gifted young orphan who refused to believe humanity's top painkiller must stay a fatal enigma. The year is 1804, and Friedrich Sertürner is about to confront death in science's name. The year is 1804, and in the small German town of Paderborn, a young man is about to attempt something that will either make him renowned or kill him, likely both. Friedrich Wilhelm Adam Sertürner stands in his tight room above the Kramer Court Pharmacy, gazing at a small heap of white crystals that gleam in the candlelight like frost on a winter dawn. He is 21 years old. He lacks formal university training, wealthy backers, or sophisticated lab gear. What he has is an obsession, a sharp intellect, and nothing at all to lose. You see, Sertürner's story doesn't begin in a distinguished university or a funded research center. It starts with loss. Born on June 19, 1783, in the small town of Neuhaus, Friedrich was the fourth of 6 children. His father, Joseph Simon Sertürner, served as an architect and engineer for the Prince Bishop of Paderborn. It wasn't a rich existence, but it was steady, honorable. Young Friedrich had prospects. Then in 1798, when Friedrich was just 15, everything crumbled. His father died. The family lost their supporter when the Prince Bishop also died. Almost instantly, Friedrich shifted from a middle-class youth with promise to an orphan with zilch. No legacy, no ties, no safety net. Just a teen figuring out survival in a world that abruptly had no spot for him. Now envision being 15 and losing it all. What would you do? How would you handle such ruin? Friedrich did what many youths of his time did when options ran out. He became an apprentice. At 16, he entered the court pharmacy in Paderborn and persuaded the owner, Mr. Kramer, to hire him. Here's what's notable. Most apprentices then just learned recipes, measured items, stocked shelves. But Sertürner was distinct. Perhaps it was the grief of his father's death. Perhaps it was the drive from having zero. But this young man eyed the pharmacy racks lined with opium and laudanum bottles and posed a question no one else raised. What is really in this material? Recall, this is 1804. Chemistry as we know it scarcely exists. No one has isolated a pure active compound from a plant. The concept of an alkaloid hasn't been created. When doctors ordered opium, they ordered a complicated blend of dozens of compounds, like painting with a pail of blended hues instead of pure colors. But Sertürner viewed that murky brown opium and considered, there must be a method to divide this into components. Night after night, after completing his usual tasks at the pharmacy, Sertürner would ascend to his small room and start testing. Imagine the scene. A young man, barely past his teens, bent over beakers and flasks by candle flame. The space reeks of chemicals and opium. His hands are discolored from countless trials. He tries various acids, solvents, temperatures, watching, waiting, hoping for order from disorder. He boiled opium with alcohol. No luck. He mixed it with ammonia. Nearer, but not yet. He tested acetic acid. The blend would split, creating layers, and occasionally, just occasionally, tiny crystals appeared. Most would quit. This was tedious, draining labor with no success promise. But Sertürner was driven. Then, after months of setbacks, something amazing happened. By treating opium with ammonia and then meticulously handling the solution, Sertürner produced small, needle-like white crystals. They were pure. They were uniform. And when tested, they were potent beyond his wildest thoughts. He named his find Morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god of dreams and slumber. It was an ideal title. This material didn't just soothe pain. It carried people to a different world, one where agony didn't exist. But Sertürner didn't yet grasp how strong it truly was. And that lack of knowledge would nearly cost his life. Now, here's where the tale intensifies. Sertürner faced a dilemma every scientist in history has met. How do you evaluate a new drug? In 1804, there were no clinical studies, no review boards, no ethical rules. If you wanted to learn a substance's effects on a living body, options were limited. You could test on animals. You could test on inmates or the poor who couldn't refuse. Or you could be courageous or foolish enough to test on yourself. Sertürner began with animals. He tried his morphium on stray dogs roaming Paderborn streets. The outcomes were striking. A dog in clear distress would get a dose of morphium and within minutes become serene, sleepy, then drop into deep rest. The pain relief was evident. But the dogs also displayed something else, something that intrigued and scared Sertürner equally. At larger doses, the dogs would turn fully unconscious. Their breathing would slow sharply, and sometimes they wouldn't awaken. Sertürner carefully noted everything. He recorded morphium's crystal form, its traits, how it dissolved in various liquids, how it impacted living beings. He shared his results in a letter to Tromsdorf's Journal of Pharmacy in 1805. This was pioneering. It was the first isolation of a pure active compound from a plant. It was the start of alkaloid chemistry, though no one realized it. And here's the sad part: nobody noticed. The letter appeared and was quickly forgotten. The medical elite didn't respond. Consider that. A 22-year-old apprentice without credentials declares he's achieved what no one in history has. And the reply is silence. Why? Because Sertürner was a nobody. No degree, no famous guides, no title. He was merely a kid in a small-town pharmacy making bold assertions about crystals and dreams. Europe's medical leaders, in their grand universities, couldn't trouble themselves with an orphaned apprentice's claims. They had bigger matters. But Sertürner didn't quit. In fact, he did something showing either great bravery or utter carelessness, depending on perspective. He resolved that if the medical world ignored animal data, he'd demonstrate morphium's effects dramatically. He'd test it on humans, specifically himself and 3 friends. The year is 1806. Sertürner has relocated to Einbeck, assisting in another pharmacy. One night, he assembles 3 young men, volunteers, though one questions if they grasped the risks, and suggests an experiment. They'll each consume a measured dose of morphium, note the effects precisely, and prove this wondrous substance's value. Now, stop and reflect. Would you participate? Would you ingest a totally unknown material, never tested on humans, knowing higher doses caused coma and death in dogs? It demands a unique blend of courage or insanity. For Sertürner, it was likely both. They began with low doses, and the early effects matched Sertürner's hopes. The young men felt deep peace and wellness. Pain dissolved, worry vanished. One later called it floating on a cloud of total satisfaction. This was precisely what Sertürner expected. This proved morphium was humanity's sought-after miracle. But then, swept by excitement and curiosity, and perhaps the drug's euphoria, Sertürner made a disastrous choice. He raised the dose, then raised it more. After all, they felt great. How could extra be risky? What followed was sheer horror. Within hours, all 4 began terrible symptoms. Their pupils narrowed to points. Breathing grew slow and strained. Nausea hit hard. They vomited again and again. Skin turned pale and damp. And scariest, they started fading consciousness, slipping toward what seemed like death. Picture Sertürner's fear then. He's watching his friends and feeling it himself as they all gradually stop breathing. He's poisoned them. He's poisoned himself. And he has no fix, no antidote, no ER, no helpline. They're dying, and it's his fault entirely. In his growing confusion and panic, Sertürner recalled pharmacy training. Acids sometimes countered alkaline materials. Morphium was alkaline. Maybe an acid could reverse the overdose. With shaky hands, barely upright, Sertürner made a tartaric acid solution from grapes and forced it down his throat and his companions. Then they waited, minute by torturous minute, teetering between awareness and void, wondering if dawn would come. Have you ever felt truly terrified? Not film scared, but convinced death was near. That's where these four spent their longest night. Slowly, unbelievably, they improved. Breathing deepened, color returned, nausea eased. By morning, all four lived, though deeply rattled. They'd brushed death, but survived. And Sertürner, through luck and frantic logic, found acids could partly counter morphium overdose. You'd assume nearly dying would end Sertürner's research, right? Wrong. If anything, it fueled him. He now knew morphium's immense power firsthand. He'd felt it. He had the mental scars to confirm. This was genuine. This was vital. The world must know. But the world still ignored. Sertürner published another report in 1806, again mostly overlooked. He spent years as a pharmacist, first assistant, then opening his own in Einbeck in 1809 at 26. But the acclaim he craved for morphium eluded him. For years, Sertürner refined his work. He examined morphium's properties deeply. He tested extraction methods. He sought to grasp why it was both healing and hazardous. How something could be so therapeutically wonderful and terrifyingly deadly. He lived knowing he'd found something transformative, yet no one cared. Can you fathom the frustration? To know you've made one of history's key medical finds, risked life to prove it, and meet apathy year after year, it would crush most. But Sertürner endured. Then in 1817, 13 years post-discovery, change came. Sertürner released a detailed paper titled Über das Morphium als Hauptbestandteil des Opiums, meaning on morphium as the main constituent of opium. This time, it reached Joseph-Louis Gay-Lussac, one of France's top chemists. Gay-Lussac read it and, unlike prior readers, grasped its importance. This wasn't a rural pharmacist's nonsense. This was groundbreaking science. Gay-Lussac had it translated to French and shared across Europe's scientific circles. Overnight, Sertürner went from ignored nobody to celebrated figure. The University of Jena gave him an honorary doctorate in 1817. The German Mineralogical Society admitted him. Other schools followed: Berlin, St. Petersburg, Paris, Lisbon. In 1831, France's prestigious institute awarded the Montyon Prize and called him Benefactor of Humanity. At last, after years of struggle and obscurity, Friedrich Wilhelm Adam Sertürner got his due. He'd founded alkaloid chemistry. He'd shown plants held isolatable compounds. He'd opened doors to caffeine, quinine, strychnine, and hundreds more alkaloids. He'd given humanity its first measurable, controllable painkiller. But here's the story's cruelest twist. Sertürner's private life was unraveling. In 1822, he purchased Hamelin's main pharmacy, yes, the Pied Piper town, hoping for prosperous years. He wed Eleanor, and they had 6 children. On the surface, perfection. The former poor orphan was now a respected scientist, successful owner, family man. But Sertürner suffered. As he aged, severe arthritis set in. His joints swelled and ached, making sleep impossible and movement torture. And what did he do? What could he do? He used his discovery. He took morphium, later renamed morphine with the ine suffix for alkaloids. And morphine did its job. It relieved his pain, but it also did more. Day by day, dose by dose, Sertürner needed more. The man who'd nearly overdosed on morphine at 23 was now, decades later, gradually depending on his creation. The benefactor of humanity became its victim. Accounts from his last years depict tragedy. Sertürner grew bitter and suspicious. He believed, despite honors, he'd never gotten fair financial reward for his find. He saw drug firms profit hugely from morphine while he scraped by. His actions turned erratic. His family fretted. And throughout, he continued morphine because what else? The pain was real, and morphine was the only aid. Friedrich Wilhelm Adam Sertürner died February 20, 1841, at 57. The autopsy showed dropsy, severe fluid swelling. Whether morphine-related, uncertain. But many historians think the man who gifted morphine to the world became one of its victims. There's deep irony here, isn't there? Sertürner devoted his life to freeing humanity from pain, creating a tool saving millions but enslaving millions. He was hero and victim, celebrated and tragic, brilliant and fated. His story is medicine's original double-edged blade. But morphine's tale was just starting. Just years after Sertürner's death, someone invented a device taking morphine from occasional medicine to essential in every hospital and battlefield. Someone made a tool letting morphine enter blood directly, instantly, powerfully. Someone invented the hypodermic needle. And when morphine met the syringe, everything shifted. Modern pain management's era was dawning, but so was injection-based addictions era. And that's our next turn, to when a simple tool changed morphine from swallowed and waited for to felt in seconds. A shift saving countless battlefield lives globally, but also creating a new dependency haunting families for generations. Sometimes the greatest innovations aren't the drugs, but delivery methods. And in 1853, two men across Europe were about to invent something transforming morphine from useful medicine to game changer. They had no clue they'd unleash a revolution saving millions while sparking a crisis we still face. Let me bring you to the early 1850s. Morphine has been known nearly 50 years. Doctors worldwide use it for pain, and it performs exceptionally. But every physician faces a frustrating issue. Oral morphine means waiting, waiting, more waiting. Think from a patient's view. You're on a civil war field, though that war hasn't begun. Or a woman in hard labor, or a man with a leg crushed by machinery. The pain is so fierce you can't think, breathe, do anything but yell. The doctor gives a morphine tablet or spoonful, and nothing occurs. Not for 10 minutes, 20, sometimes half an hour or longer. Why? The morphine must pass your digestive tract. Broken down in stomach, absorbed via intestines, liver processed, then finally reaches brain to work. It's like calling emergency aid and hearing, "We'll arrive in 30 to 45 minutes." In agony, 30 minutes feels like 30 hours. Plus, another problem. Digestive morphine gets much destroyed or altered before bloodstream. You might need huge oral dose for moderate effect. And every dose is a bet since absorption varies. Some have quick metabolism breaking it fast. Others have slow digestion delaying onset. It was medical chance. Enter two brilliant minds working separately. Alexander Wood in Edinburgh, Scotland, and Charles Gabriel Provaz in Lyon, France. Neither knew the other's work, but both reached the same revolutionary fix in 1853. They created the hypodermic syringe, a hollow needle linked to a chamber injecting medicine straight into body. Now, injecting wasn't wholly new. Crude devices existed for centuries, but Wood and Prevost made something graceful, practical, safe for regular use. Wood's featured a glass tube, plunger, needle sharp for skin pierce, but fine to limit damage. Prevost's was similar, but used screw instead of plunger. The concept was elegantly simple: skip digestion. Deliver medicine directly to tissue or blood for immediate action. No delay, no absorption guesswork, just pure, quick, reliable relief. Alexander Wood, good scientist, tested his on his wife, suffering severe neuralgia, nerve pain making life wretched. He made morphine solution, filled syringe, inserted needle under skin, pushed plunger. Within minutes, not half hour, minutes, his wife said pain lessened. Within 10, she was comfortable first time in weeks. It felt magical. Wood published 1855, and medicine went crazy for it. Imagine being a doctor then, suddenly having a tool for near-instant relief? Like shifting from horsemail to email. The speed gap was dramatic. Hospitals in Europe and America adopted hypodermic syringes quickly. Surgeries, once nightmares of suffering, became humane. Surgeons could inject morphine pre-op, wait minutes, proceed with patient in relative calm, not terror. Battlefield doctors, though major wars loomed, saw potential for wounded. Morphine plus hypodermic syringe was called one of 19th century's top medical feats. And it was. Human suffering reduced is incalculable. Every surgery, injury, cancer, or chronic pain patient finding relief, all improved, faster, better. But, and this is a huge tragic but, nobody then grasped what they'd made, because injecting morphine differs fundamentally from swallowing, not just speed. Direct bloodstream morphine hits brain full force instantly. Effect isn't merely quicker, it's stronger, more euphoric, more addictive. Here's where the story turns interesting and somewhat dark. Many 1850s, 60s doctors truly thought injecting morphine prevented addiction. Yes, you read right. They believed injection safer than oral for dependency. Why such wrong thinking? Their logic: addiction from morphine irritating stomach. Bypass stomach via injection, avoid irritation, avoid addiction. It seemed logical per their knowledge. It was also totally, utterly, dangerously false. Truth, understood decades later, is opposite. Injecting creates stronger link between act and reward. Brain learns, felt awful, stuck needle in arm, instantly amazing. That quick cause effect is psychologically potent, unlike swallowing pill and waiting 30 minutes. Faster drug entry, more reinforcing, higher addiction risk. But 1853 knew none. So doctors injected morphine freely, thinking they favored patients by skipping dangerous oral path. They injected for pain, yes, but also anxiety, insomnia, nervousness, any distress. Patients loved it. Why not? Injected morphine is deeply effective. Relief immediate, strong. If suffering, miracle. But then patterns emerged. Patients given injections weeks or months returned with issues. Morphine less effective, needed more. Or worse, stopping felt awful. Shaking, sweating, anxious, pain worse than original. What occurred? Tolerance and dependency, though no terms yet. Body adapts to morphine. Brain makes less natural pain relief since morphine handles it. Need more for same effect. Stop, body revolts as forgot regulating pain, pleasure alone. By mid-1860s, alert doctors noted disturbing trend. Patients without opium history, given injections for valid reasons, now craved more. They'd claim phantom pains, exaggerate symptoms for dose. Some stole morphine from pharmacies, others learned self-injection. And, troubling, many weren't seeking high, just normalcy. Once dependent, normal needs morphine. Without, feel deathly. Ache everywhere, nose runs, can't sleep, eat. Skin crawls like bugs beneath. Do anything to stop. Only stop. More morphine. One British doctor in 1868 wrote alarmed, "We've made a new invalid class, respectable people enslaved to morphine injection, not chasing pleasure, fleeing misery. And we, ignorantly, led them in. But genie escaped. Hypodermic syringe too useful, effective, revolutionary to abandon over some patient issues. Medical leaders convince themselves these isolated weak individuals who'd addict anyway. Tool fine. Must be. And then American Civil War came. What doctors saw small scale with morphine and syringes was about to show on largest, bloodiest, devastating scale. War killing 620,000, hundreds of thousands wounded. Mini-ball, revolutionary bullet tumbling flesh, shattering bone, creating horrors where amputation kindest. Civil War became huge unintended morphine delivery experiment. Union Confederate armies relied heavily on morphine for casualty waves. Doctors carried hypodermic syringes as key gear. Injected wounded on fields, hospitals, wards. Injected freely, generously, desperately to ease incomprehensible suffering. And when surviving soldiers went home, many carried invisible. Morphine dependency haunting rest of lives. War created America's first major addiction epidemic, tearing families ways bullets, disease hadn't. Morphine, hypodermic syringe, brutal Civil War medicine collided in perfect storm. Storm teaching painful lessons on pain relief cost. On thin line medicine poison. On what happens giving desperate access to drug, making them feel divine hours, hell rest. So let's step to those blood-drenched fields. Into field hospital chaos where surgeons labored by candle, wounded screams filled air day-night. Let's meet doctors carrying morphine, brandy in pockets like sacred items. Let's see how morphine preserved army sanity, then ruined thousands of homecoming men. Because Civil War happenings echoed generations, ripples we feel today. Blessing, Curse of Morphine, about collide in America's deadliest war. April 12, 1861, Fort Sumter, South Carolina. Confederate guns fire on Union post. United States rips apart. Over next 4 years, war kills more Americans than all other U.S. wars combined. Bloodiest national chapter. But what many miss. Civil War birthed America's first broad addiction epidemic. Drug at core, morphine. Let me depict battlefield medical care. Unless grasp horror, can't understand why morphine essential, ultimately devastating. Imagine 20-year-old Ohio soldier. Enlisted with boyhood pals, full patriotic zeal, glory dreams. March days, now open field near small-town Gettysburg. July 1863, about enter largest American soil battle. Order advance. You thousands men begin walking toward enemy. Then hear it, angry hornets buzz past head. Mini-balls, not round musket balls past wars. Conical bullets hollow base, expand firing, spin air deadly accurate, devastating. Mini-ball 1,000 feet per second hits leg, but no clean pass like movies. Bullet tumbles bone hit, creating channel like sledgehammer femur. Bone shards turn shrapnel, ripping muscle, vessels. Pain instant, total, beyond imaginable. You fall, screaming, think nothing but agony from shattered leg. This to thousands simultaneously. Battlefield symphony screams. And here's forgotten about pain. Extreme pain, not just suffering. Physically dangerous. Men's severe pain shock. Blood pressure drops. Breathing rapid, shallow. Body shuts down. Pain can kill. Stretcher bearers reach eventually, if lucky, hour. Unlucky, lie 6, 8, 12 hours before help. Load stretcher, carry field hospital, usually large tent or seized barn. Smell hits first. Blood, sweat, gangrene, chloroform, waste nauseating mix. Surgeon checks leg. Seen hundreds today. Knows must, you know too. Leg won't heal. Bone too shattered, tissue damaged, infection, gangrene, almost certain. Leg must go. Now 1863.
Remember, no antiseptic surgery, antibiotics, transfusions, ICUs. Just surgeon saw, perhaps chloroform if lucky, morphine. Always morphine. Confederate Medical Guide era states clearly, opium, one indispensable battlefield drug. Important surgeon as gunpowder ordnance. Consider comparison. Morphine, essential doctors as ammo soldiers. Without, medical system collapse under suffering weight. Union records show morphine use. Over 5 million opium pills to forces. Nearly 3 million ounces opium preps to hospitals. Just official. Actual higher. Confederacy, supply short, still saw morphine vital. Blockade runners risked lives smuggling medical opium past Union Navy. Military doctors advised carry morphine, brandy pockets always as main meds for casualties. Not bandages, splints. Morphine, brandy. Tells priorities. Stop pain first because screaming soldier not just suffering. Demoralizes around, uses resources, possibly dies shock. But Civil War differed previous conflicts. First major war, hypodermic syringe widely available. Some Union doctors had new devices, used liberally. Quick morphine injection could turn shrieking, thrashing patient calm enough, survive surgery. Literally, lifesaver. Let me share real soldier story, represents thousands. Name, John Tackett Gulick. Confederate artilleryman, Fredericksburg, Virginia. August 1864, Petersburg siege. John hit bullet left leg. Wound severe, not immediate fatal. Evacuated Chimborazo Hospital, Richmond, largest Confederate military hospital, 8,000 capacity. There, surgeons did usual, cleaned wound best, stabilized John, gave morphine pain. Lots morphine. Day, week, wound healed slowly, morphine made life bearable. And insidious, nobody told John stop healed. Nobody warned dependency. Doctors didn't know warn, didn't fully grasp danger. John survived war. Went home, wife Frances Bernard Gulick, ready rebuild. Law practice return, family support, future ahead. But brought something from hospital. Morphine need wouldn't leave. At first, Frances didn't understand. John seemed changed, distracted. Good days, terrible days, no pattern. Law practice suffered, missed meetings, forgot details, sometimes seemed intoxicated, though she saw no drink. Then found morphine supply.
Gulick family letters, preserved archives, give heartbreaking view life-addicted Civil War vet. Francis wrote brother, February 1896, over 30 years post-war, her despair. He will plead, implore not do this, but I must. I must. I can bear neither myself children this life longer. What life? Watching husband's sharp legal mind crumble. Finances dwindle, John unable work steadily. Shame, neighbors whisper Jay's issue. Fear children grow thinking normal, and most painful, knowing not really John's fault. Brave soldier, wounded service, treated best medicine time, treatment trapped him. Francis threatened divorce unless John treated. 1896, divorce scandalous, ruinous women. Fact considered shows desperation. John tried help, submitted brutal cures time, usually abrupt morphine cutoff, what we call cold turkey. Imagine, body-dependent morphine 30 years. Every cell adjusted expect, suddenly gone. Withdrawal nightmarish, violent shakes, heavy sweat, vomit, diarrhea. Muscle cramps severe, feel bones break. Anxiety want escape skin. And pain, oh pain worse original injury, started nightmare. Men described torn inside, most quits failed. John managed weeks, maybe month, then suffering too much. Find doctor prescribe morphine or buy pharmacy. Remember, morphine still legal, available, cycle restart. Pattern till Jay's death. 3 decades morphine post-4 war years. And John Gulick not unique. Not close. Estimated 400,000 Union Confederate soldiers became morphine dependent after Civil War. 400,000 men. Some historians think conservative. Conditions so common, multiple nicknames. Soldier's disease, army disease, opium slavery. Most telling, morphine mania. Here's shocking. Despite identical suffering, black, white soldiers vastly different morphine addiction rates. Reason simple, deeply disturbing. Black soldiers, whether Union fighters or laborers both sides, systematically denied same quality care white soldiers got. Racist medical theories era claimed black people different nervous organization white. One North Carolina doctor, J.D. Roberts, wrote, "Black individuals not demand stimulant, opium conveys, bodies supposedly less pain-sensitive." Obviously grotesquely false, but widely believed white professionals. Result? Wounded black soldier less likely receive morphine. Documented case, white surgeon refusing painkillers black soldier, foot partially severed shrapnel. Standard white care, immediate morphine. But surgeon claimed black soldier not much pain, despite wound horror. How process cruelty disguised medical judgment? This racism, unintended consequence, far fewer black Civil War vets addicted morphine. Not more resistant addiction, but denied drug access first place. Bitter irony. Racism causing immense suffering one way, accidentally prevented another. Though suspect, asked, black soldiers prefer adequate relief despite addiction risk. Most say yes. Pain regardless skin color. But white soldiers receiving morphine, hundreds, thousands, the post-war years often difficult as war. Society no framework, addiction medical condition. Viewed moral failing, character weakness. Veterans heroes war now viewed suspicion, disgust. Called opium slaves, term reveals era mindset. Slavery lack willpower, manhood, self-control. Never mind men suffering physiological dependency, no willpower overcome. Many lost pensions, addiction evidence, moral turpitude, bad character. Union vet Charles L. Williams, 1895, Soldiers' Home application stated, "Totally unable to earn living, contracted opium habit, war. Initially denied. Think, man fought country, wounded service, treated best medicine, blamed predictable consequences. Where justice, thousands ended mental asylums. Not insane, but families knew no else. Willard Utica Asylums, New York. Pennsylvania Hospital, insane. Institutions country. Records 1870s through 1890s filled Civil War vets committed morphine mania. Most described otherwise rational, smart men whose only issue, uncontrollable morphine need. Spent years, sometimes decades, institutions. Largely forgotten, society wanting move past war. Medical community slowly awoke happened. By 1880s, doctors published papers recognizing morphine addiction genuine crisis. One prominent physician opioid expert, Thomas Davison Crothers, interviewed numerous vets, documented stories. Described meeting Union vet early 1880s, nearly 20 years post-war, started opium treat chronic diarrhea developed service. After 2 months, diarrhea cured, but vet continued opium on-off 2 decades. Not want, but stopping impossible. Crothers' conclusion revolutionary time, men not criminals weaklings. Suffering medical condition requiring medical treatment, not moral judgment. But even doctors recognized, society slow follow. Stigma remained, suffering continued. And here's saddest, America learned nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because few decades, another young men generation march another war. Experienced different horrors, trench warfare, poison gas, machine guns mowing battalions. And again, morphine there, essential, indispensable, saving, destroying lives equal measure. Cycle repeat throughout 20th century into 21st. But before wars, another chapter explore. Because 1898, pharmaceutical company thought solved morphine addiction. Created believed safer alternative, non-addictive painkiller, all morphine benefits, none dangers. Called Heroin, marketed world miracle cure. Irony tragedy next, almost too painful bear. But we'll bear together, understanding mistake crucial where today. What if told world's infamous street drugs once marketed respectable pharmaceutical company safe medicine children? What if told company advertised cure morphine addiction? And what if told 15 years doctors worldwide prescribed freely, truly believing helping patients? Welcome, One Medicine's catastrophic mistakes. Story so absurd, tragic, avoidable, almost defies belief. London, 1874. Chemist Charles Romley Alder Wright, working St. Mary's Hospital Medical School, doing chemists do, mixing see happens. Wright experimenting morphine, trying alter structure, combining various acids. Tedious, filling notebooks, mostly useless results. One day, boils morphine acetic anhydride, concentrated vinegar form, several hours. Examining result, created new compound, diacetyl morphine. Tests, dogs, rabbits. Animals become extremely sedated. Breathing slows dramatically. Some die. Wright writes dry paper, does nothing, moves other experiments. Compound sits notes, forgotten, metaphorical dust, next 23 years. Now fast forward 1897, Elberfeld, Germany. Bayer Pharmaceutical Company riding high success. one world's innovative drug firms constantly seeking next breakthrough. Particular problem-solving, better cough suppressant than codeine. Works okay, not great. Enter Felix Hoffmann, young chemist, Bayer Labs. Hoffmann, having quite month. August 10, 1897, synthesizes stable acetyl salicylic acid, what we know, aspirin. 11 days later, August 21st, synthesizes something else, diacetyl morphine. Same compound Wright created abandoned decades prior. Historical debate whether Hoffmann aimed diacetyl morphine or stumbled. Some sources suggest supervisor Heinrich Dresser instructed acetylate morphine, hoping create codeine. Either way, produced not codeine, something far stronger. Dresser, head Bayer's pharmacological lab, immediately intrigued. Began testing diacetyl morphine animals, rabbits, frogs, fish. Results remarkable. Compound incredibly effective cough suppressant, pain reliever. Better, animal studies appeared less sedating, morphine equivalent doses. Huge, painkiller not knocking out, game changer. But needed name, catchy, capture imagination. Compound made test subjects feel strong, powerful, heroic. German, heroisch, means heroic, powerful, mighty. Pronounced effects, small doses. So-called heroin. Capital H, heroin. Sounded modern, scientific, strong. Brilliant marketing. Bayer started human trials. Here's interesting. Tested mainly Bayer employees, including Heinrich Dresser. Imagine today? Hey, invented new drug. Try? Sure, boss. Why not? Different times. Initial reports glowing. Workers said heroin suppressed coughs, relieved aches, pains, made feel energetic, capable. Nobody felt overly sedated, impaired. Seemed perfect. 1898, Dresser presented Heroin Congress, German naturalists, physicians. Presentation, sensational. Claimed 10 times effective codeine cough suppressant. Stated superior painkiller, morphine. Kicker, claimed non-addictive, almost no toxic side effects. Non-addictive. Let's sink. Truly believed created safer morphine alternative. Medical community went wild. Remember, late 1800s. Tuberculosis rampant, killing millions. Pneumonia death sentence many. Chronic coughing, respiratory diseases making lives miserable. Here, Bayer miracle drug suppress severe coughs, relieve pain without morphine addiction issues. Seemed too good, true. Spoiler, was. Bayer launched aggressive marketing campaign. Pharmaceutical history point. Produced heroin multiple forms. Tablets, swallow, elixir, glycerin, drink. Water-soluble salts, inject. Even heroin lozenges. Marketed everything. Respiratory infections, asthma, bronchitis, tuberculosis. General pain relief, yes. Treatment, morphine addiction. Logic, if heroin non-addictive, more effective morphine, giving morphine addicts should solve problem. Irony hilarious, if not tragic. Within first commercial year, Bayer selling heroin 23 countries. End 1898, produced approximately 1 metric ton. 1 ton. Printed ads showing happy, healthy people, including children, benefiting heroin. Some ads, cheerful family illustrations text, explaining help child's cough. For children's coughs, heroin, gentle, effective. Mean. Imagine? Doctors worldwide began prescribing heroin enthusiastically. German physician Strube tested heroin 50 tuberculosis patients 1898. Reported effective relieving coughs, helping sleep. Noted almost afterthought, unsure. Continued use, harmful, lead chronic heroinism. Warning should bold, underlined, highlighted, but buried enthusiasm. Another doctor, Floor, working Bayer, found heroin valuable treating bronchitis, asthma, tuberculosis. Another physician, H. Leo, wrote detailed case studies, successful heroin treatments, including memorable 71-year-old patient, severe respiratory disease, whose condition dramatically improved heroin. All reports piled, creating mountain evidence, heroin, wonderful. And patients, heroin worked, least initially. Terrible cough keeping up night. Someone gives heroin, cough stops. Guaranteed. Sleep like baby. Feel amazing. People suffering painful chronic respiratory diseases. Heroin seemed actual miracle. Letters flooded Bayer, grateful patients, doctors, international success story. Just one tiny problem. Heroin, incredibly addictive. More addictive, morphine. Significantly more. Unlike morphine, taking weeks, months, regular use creates serious dependency. Heroin hook much faster, crosses brain easily, completely. But nobody knew yet. Or rather, nobody wanted believe. First warning signs appeared months heroin's release. Some doctors reported patients regular heroin having difficulty stopping. Experienced same withdrawal symptoms morphine, often severe. Some patients increasing doses without supervision. Few cases intense heroin dependency began appearing medical journals. But Bayer, much medical establishment dismissed reports isolated. Surely problem not heroin, but patients, addictive personalities, misusing medication, would become addicts anyway. Drug fine, drug safe, problem human weakness. Thinking should familiar. Still do today, various medications. Throughout early 1900s, heroin use exploded globally. Completely legal, available pharmacies without prescription many places, recommended trusted physicians. Working-class families used coughs, colds. Middle-class women took nervous conditions. Doctors prescribed chest pain, shortness breath, general malaise. And yes, unbelievably, some doctors still prescribing heroin help morphine addicts quit morphine. Like trying to extinguish fire pouring gasoline. By early 1910s, truth impossible ignore. Hospitals seeing increasing severe heroin dependency patients. Police reports noted rise crimes desperate obtain heroin. Families destroyed. Pattern identical morphine, except faster, worse. 1913. 15 years heroin's introduction. Bayer quietly stopped producing. No big announcement, no public apology. Just stopped. By then, other companies manufacturing heroin. Drug developed substantial black market. Genie out bottle, no putting back. United States Congress passed Harrison Narcotics Tax Act 1914, regulated sale distribution heroin, other opioids, though not outright ban. But doctors could prescribe heroin medical purposes. Not until 1924, United States completely banned manufacture, importation, sale heroin any purpose. Other countries followed 1920s, 30s. But then heroin established criminal underground. Illegal labs China began producing. Criminal organizations saw opportunity. French connection later emerged, sophisticated smuggling. Turkey, Marseille, France. Refined, then shipped northeastern United States, Europe. Heroin transitioned medicine, one world's infamous illegal drugs. Here's blows mind whole story. Every step, people, information needed. Recognized danger, but didn't want see. When Wright first synthesized diacetylmorphine, saw cause severe respiratory depression, death, animals abandoned. Massive red flag. But 23 years later, Bayer ran similar tests, similar results. Thought, yeah, fine. Let's sell millions. When first heroin addiction reports emerged, Bayer could pull drug, investigated thoroughly, issued warnings. Instead, denied, dismissed. When doctors noticed patients becoming dependent, supposedly non-addictive drug, could demanded better research. Instead, most blamed patients. Pattern C repeatedly medical history. New drug promises solve old problem without old drugs' downsides. Initial enthusiasm overrides caution. Marketing drives adoption, faster research keep up. By time problems undeniable, millions affected. Then panic, ban drug, demonize users, learn nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because guess? Few decades, did again. OxyContin, fentanyl, dozen other opioids. Keep making same mistakes, wrapped different packaging, different marketing slogans, genuinely believing time different. But immediate aftermath, heroin's spectacular failure, world faced another crisis. First World War erupted 1914. Once again, morphine essential battlefields Europe. Millions, young men about experience industrialized warfare, scale never seen. Machine guns, artillery barrages, poison gas, trench warfare turning landscapes hellish, mud, death, wastelands. And medical tents behind trenches, regimental aid posts near front, casualty clearing stations. Wounded soldiers screamed darkness. Morphine would once again only mercy available. Lessons supposedly learned Civil War, warnings heroin disaster, all forgotten. Desperate scramble ease suffering wounded. Another generation, young men would come home carrying invisible wounds, no amount morphine could truly heal. There, German soldier writer Ernst Junger fought Western Front, First World War. Years later, trying capture experience words, wrote, "Trenches home, great God, pain, not fear, not death, pain." Because those mud-filled ditches across France, Belgium, pain, one constant companion, never left, never slept, never showed mercy. July 1st, 1916, Somme. British-French forces launch believed decisive offensive German lines. Generals assured troops week-long artillery bombardment destroyed German defenses. You'll able walk across no man's land, say. Germans all dead. Catastrophically wrong. 7:30 morning, whistles blow. Tens thousands British soldiers climb trenches, begin walking German positions. Then German machine guns open. These not single-shot rifles previous wars. Weapons fire 500 rounds minute. Sound like fabric ripped, except fabric, human bodies. First hour, just first 60 minutes, 19,000 British soldiers killed. Another 38,000 wounded. Some wounded lie cratered muddy wasteland between trenches hours, sometimes days before stretcher bearers reach. Entire time screaming, "Mothers, God, someone, anyone, make pain stop." This what First World War brought world. Industrialized killing scale humanity never imagined. Machine guns mow entire battalions minutes. Artillery shells tear man's body pieces small family never anything bury. Poison gas burned lungs inside, leaving men drowning own fluids. And through all, pain. Constant, overwhelming, absolute pain. British medical officer wrote diary. Sounds wounded, worse sounds battle. Least battle, distraction, survival. But casualty clearing stations, nothing suffering. Hour, hour, day, day. Without morphine, we'd lose minds before patients' lives. Medical system developed World War I, actually quite sophisticated, far organized American Civil War. British, French, German armies learned previous conflicts, created systematic approach battlefield casualties. Worked like soldier wounded, stretcher bearers, true heroes, ask, crawl gunfire artillery reach injured. Often musicians, military bands reassigned medical duties. Imagine trombone player 1 month, dodging bullets, rescue dying next. Assess injury, apply field dressing, stop bleeding. If pain severe, administer morphine, right battlefield. From there, wounded carried regimental aid post, usually few hundred yards behind front. Medical officer examine wound, stabilize patient possible, inject more morphine needed. Goal, get soldier stable, survive transport next care level. Then evacuation, casualty clearing station several miles front. Larger facilities, think mobile hospitals, surgical capabilities. Where amputations happened, shrapnel removed, doctors worked lantern light, performing surgery after surgery. Morphine flowed like water. French medical system similar, coined term approach. Triage, French trier, meaning sort, select. Wounded soldiers divided 3 categories, casualty clearing stations. First, minor injuries quickly treated, sent back front. Second, serious treatable injuries needing surgery, extended care. Third, heartbreaking injuries, severe, survival unlikely. Third category, men going die, regardless treatment, received one thing, morphine. Much morphine wanted, goal, not cure, couldn't, goal, let die without suffering. Stretcher bearers keep men comfortable, give water could swallow, hold hands, inject morphine whenever pain returned. Only mercy available. Now think meant morphine consumption, World War I scale beyond comprehension. Over 65 million soldiers mobilized, millions wounded. Any given day, thousands men needed morphine immediately, desperately, now. Military medical services, all sides stockpiled enormous quantities drug. British casualty clearing station might use hundreds doses single day, heavy fighting. And here's often overlooked, morphine, not just physical injuries. Psychological trauma, trench warfare severe. Doctors began using morphine, calm soldiers suffering, called shell shock, what we'd recognize severe post-traumatic stress disorder. Men couldn't stop shaking, couldn't sleep, jumped every sound, stared space, hollow eyes. Morphine often only thing brings some peace. But growing awareness morphine's dangers. Unlike Civil War, doctors freely injected morphine, little concern. World War I military physicians cautious, read medical literature. New addiction crisis followed Civil War. Many treated morphine-dependent patients, civilian practices pre-war. So tried, genuinely tried, careful. Military regulations established control morphine distribution. Soldiers not supposed personal supplies. Only medical personnel administer. Doses recorded. Theory: prevent widespread addiction plagued Civil War veterans. Theory: reality: usual, different plans. Thousands wounded men screaming pain, paperwork secondary. 20-year-old stretcher bearer faced soldier leg blown off begging relief. Not thinking addiction stats, thinking stop suffering. So injects morphine, then more, what else? Particularly poignant detail: morphine administered World War I. Medical personnel inject. Many cases attach small label or mark soldier's uniform indicating received morphine, time approximate dose. Crucial info next care level. But also visible reminder: man touched morphine. Man path might lead dangerous. Psychological impact: morphine use war complex. Many soldiers, morphine-associated survival, relief, someone caring enough ease suffering. Represented hope midst hell. But some, particularly repeated doses, weeks, months recovery. Morphine became something else. Need, craving, problem, followed long wounds healed. Let tell gas attacks experience. Morphine absolutely essential. Chemical warfare introduced large-scale World War I chlorine gas, phosgene, mustard gas primary agents. Mustard gas particularly horrific. Didn't kill immediately, instead burned skin, created massive blisters, destroyed eyes, most terrifyingly, damaged respiratory system severely. Essentially drowned own fluids, days, weeks. No cure, mustard gas exposure, none. All doctors manage symptoms. Primary symptom: excruciating pain combined inability breathe. Morphine only drug address both. Reduced pain perception, crucially suppressed panicked suffocating sensation. Gas victims: morphine literally difference. Dying absolute terror, dying relative peace. Medical literature. World War I filled reports morphine's effectiveness gas casualties. Prescribed liberally, generously, without much concern, dependency. Because dependency matter, alternative, drowning lungs, fully conscious? Doctors calculated immediate suffering versus potential future addiction. Chose prevent suffering. Hard argue wrong choice, even knowing after. When war finally ended, November 1918, millions veterans returned home. Most, not morphine dependency. Controls, imperfect, prevented mass addiction, but 10,000s did come home, medical records. Delicately called morphinism. Exact numbers debated. Historians, conservative estimates suggest least 50,000, 100,000 veterans, all combatant nations developed some morphine dependency during, immediately after war. Treatment approaches, available 1920s, marginally better. Civil War veterans had, not much. 1921, American military hospitals began using phenobarbital, barbiturate sedative, help ease morphine withdrawal symptoms. Theory: phenobarbital reduce anxiety, restlessness, insomnia, made withdrawal unbearable. Veterans admitted closed wards received 2-3 daily doses phenobarbital along warm baths, alcohol rubs, doses castor oil. Sound relaxing? Because pretty sure locked hospital room, pumped barbiturates, soaked warm baths, given castor oil, own special torture. But considered state-of-art time. Another method, Townes-Lambert treatment, developed Dr. Alexander Lambert, partnership Charles Townes, involved gradually reducing morphine intake while administering mercury-based pill called blue mass. Yes, mercury, that famously safe, not toxic element, along plant-based mixture, belladonna, hyoscyamus, xanthoxylum. Sounds like Victorian mad scientist concoction. Basically was. But desperate times, desperate measures. Success rate, treatments not great. Many veterans complete program, suffer weeks withdrawal, return civilian life, shaky, hopeful, relapse months. Because here's doctors still not fully understand.
Addiction, not just physical dependency, not just body-needing drug, also psychological, about memories, trauma, pain, morphine helped escape, about back civilian life, unable sleep, every sound reminds artillery, unable work, hands shake, unable explain family experiences, never understand. Then remember morphine made go away, least little while. By 1925, situation serious. American Legion announced Bureau Hospital, Palo Alto, California. 4 hospitals nationwide specifically designated treating addicted World War I veterans. Fact needed specialized facilities tells widespread problem become. But even dedicated centers, success rate remained discouragingly low. Something particularly tragic, World War I morphine crisis, happened despite people knowing better. Unlike Civil War, morphine addiction genuine surprise. Doctors 1910s knew risks, decades evidence, tried careful, implemented controls, still tens thousands men addicted. Because faced industrialized suffering unprecedented scale, more wounded men count, all screaming agony, theoretical knowledge addiction risks irrelevant, must stop suffering, deal consequences later. 1928, federal prison records Atlanta showed dozens morphine addicts inmates. Many World War I veterans turned crime support dependency, legitimate medical access cut off. War hero turned addict turned criminal became familiar narrative press, though usually coverage focused moral condemnation rather understanding medical psychological factors play. Pattern depressingly familiar. War creates wounded men. Morphine provides relief. Dependency develops. Veterans home struggle. Society blames weak. Treatment fails. Often succeeds. Some turn crime. Prison final destination. Rinse repeat. Every generation learns lesson hard way. Or rather, every generation fails learn, insists repeating same mistakes. But World War I taught something else. Morphine became crucial later conflicts. Military medical services realized speed administration mattered enormously. Faster get morphine wounded soldier, better survival chances. Severe pain, kill shock. Insight drove innovation drug delivery systems. If morphine essential, clearly, needed portable, easy administer, fast acting. Realization led one important medical innovations next war. War coming faster anyone wanted believe. War morphine prove even essential. Medical teams perfect battlefield pain management art. Simple disposable syringe save countless lives while creating new challenges echo generations. Second World War horizon, with revolution how morphine reached soldiers needed desperately. Hold out hand, imagine something size, shape, travel size toothpaste tube. Lightweight, compact, simple terrified 18-year-old use dark under fire. This unassuming device called morphine Sertürner become one important medical innovations World War II. Save hundreds, thousands lives. Also teach military medicine terrifying lesson. Happens pain relief becomes too easy, too fast, too available. September 1st, 1939. Germany invades Poland. World descends destructive conflict human history. Guns fall silent August 1945. Somewhere 85 million dead. Scale almost incomprehensible. Wounded, tens millions. Morphine again, difference bearable, suffering absolute hell. But World War II, different previous conflicts, crucial ways. Pace faster, weapons deadlier. Battles spanned continents, oceans. Soldier could fighting frozen Russian forests, scorching North Africa deserts, steaming Pacific jungles, bombed out European cities. Medical supplies needed work anywhere conditions, needed work immediately.
Problem: traditional morphine delivery. Glass syringes, metal needles, fragile, bulky, required training, use properly. Needed: break ampule morphine, draw syringe, find vein, muscle, inject carefully. Battlefield conditions: shaking hands, dark people shooting, far ideal. Soldiers needed simpler, foolproof, carried pocket, used one hand necessary. Enter morphine syringe. Name clever, play syringe, diminutive suffix. Designed Squibb Pharmaceutical Company. Yes, same Squibb later merged Bristol-Myers, specifically military use. Design: ingenious simplicity. Picture small tube, metal, later plastic size, pinky finger. One end, wire loop, attach uniform first aid kit. Other end, thin, short needle, protected small cap. Inside tube, pre-measured dose morphine tartrate. Usually 30 milligrams, though sometimes smaller. Use: remove cap, insert needle, skin, muscle, squeeze tube like toothpaste. Morphine flows. Tube flattened, no administered full dose. That's it. Simple, effective, brilliant. Syringe issued combat medics standard equipment. Also included some first aid kits, battalion aid station supplies. American military, combat medics typically carry multiple syringes attached uniforms. Often see photos, medics 4-5 clip jackets, ready immediate use. Soldiers, seeing syringes, medic like seeing guardian angel. Meant relief possible, meant someone cared pain. But here's syringe simplicity created benefits, problems. So easy use, soldiers administer each other, even themselves. Fantastic medic couldn't immediately reach wounded. Buddy grab syringe, provide relief. But also meant dosing get control quickly. Chaos combat, tracking received much morphine, nearly impossible. Military medical protocols tried address. After administering syringe, supposed attach empty tube wounded soldier's collar uniform, usually sticking needle fabric. Served two purposes: prevented syringe reuse, serious concerns, scarce supplies. Gave next medical care crucial info, morphine administration. Additionally, medics supposed mark M soldier's forehead. Grease pencil, even soldier's blood. Gruesome, yes. Effective communicating. Man received morphine. Practice. Protocols broke constantly. Imagine 19-year-old Iowa soldier just watched best friend hit shrapnel. Screaming. Syringe first aid kit. Going carefully, follow protocol. Mark forehead. Attach empty tube collar. Fill paperwork. Or jam needle leg. Squeeze tube. Hope stop screaming. Most chose latter. You would too. Led dangerous phenomenon military doctors discovered Italy, November 1943. One fascinating, troubling medical observations entire war. Let walk through happened. Allied forces fighting up Italian peninsula. Late autumn. Weather brutally cold. Casualties mounting. Wounded soldiers brought forward field hospitals, terrible condition. Injured, yes, also shock, severe hypothermia. Arrive unconscious, semi-conscious, skin icy touch, blood pressure dangerously low. Medical teams do trained. Warm soldiers, blankets, hot water bottles. Treat shock, elevating legs, administering fluids. Perform emergency surgery needed. Standard procedure. Many patients respond well. Warm up. Vital signs stabilize. Regain consciousness. Success. But some patients, and bizarre, respond. Warming shock treatment developing profound respiratory depression. Breathing slow, labored. Pupils shrink, pinpoints, drift, unconsciousness. Medical staff baffled. Symptoms look exactly morphine overdose, but records, men not received morphine since hospital. Happening? Answer, once figured, obvious, terrifying. Soldiers received morphine battlefield, often multiple doses, sometimes 90 milligrams few hours. But shock severely cold, peripheral circulation essentially shut down. Blood not flowing properly, muscles, tissues. Morphine injected arms, legs sat unabsorbed, doing nothing. Medics, seeing first Syringe no effect, administered second. Still no. Third, maybe fourth. Each time morphine accumulated cold, poorly circulated tissue, not enter bloodstream. Soldier appeared resistant morphine, but wasn't. Morphine just not absorbed. Then soldier arrives field hospital. Team warms, circulation restored, blood flows properly. Suddenly, all once, every dose morphine sitting tissues absorbs simultaneously bloodstream.
Like getting hit 4 or 5 Syringes time. Result, massive overdose. Many cases, death. Military medical staff unintentionally killing soldiers survived initial injuries. Dying, not wounds, drug meant save. Imagine horror, realizing? Think rescuing someone, actually delivering lethal morphine dose. Discovery led important changes, battlefield morphine administration protocols. Medics trained, inject morphine intramuscularly, muscle, not skin. Inject low enough, limb tourniquet placed above injection site. Overdose symptoms developed. Site injection, time, dose, supposed recorded soldier's emergency medical tag. Those metal dog tags, movies, info became literally life, death. But even better protocols, fundamental problem remained. Morphine, easy administer, hard track. Line enough, too much, dangerously thin. Especially dealing soldiers various states. Shock, hypothermia, blood loss, trauma. Bodies not always respond predictably. Despite challenges, Syringe overwhelmingly successful. Estimated millions Syringes produced, distributed World War II. Exact numbers hard, wartime record-keeping never perfect. But scale dwarfed previous conflicts. Every American combat medic carried multiple Syringes. British-Canadian forces used similar. Even German forces own versions. Psychological impact Syringe can't overstated. Soldiers, knowing pain relief available right medic's pocket, provided enormous comfort even before wounded. Like security blanket. Morphine might never need it, but knowing existed made combat terror slightly bearable. Those wounded, Syringe represented hope. Meant someone make pain stop. Midst chaos, violence, everything. Particularly touching detail, many World War II memoirs. Soldiers describe moment medic arrived, pulled Syringe. 1. Profound relief. Not just coming pain relief, but meant not alone. Someone come. Someone cared. Morphine medicine, yes, also symbol, human compassion, middle mechanized slaughter. But can't ignore other side story. While Syringe saved countless lives, eased immeasurable suffering, also created opportunities misuse dependency previous delivery systems didn't. Combination easy availability, high stress, intense immediate relief morphine provided, meant some soldiers, not many, some, began seeking morphine reasons beyond immediate physical pain. Combat psychologically devastating. Imagine days, weeks, months, constant fear. Watching friends die, never sleeping properly, always one explosion away, death. Some soldiers discovered morphine not just ease physical pain,
eased psychological too, made fear manageable, created ours peace world relentless stress. And because Syringe's relatively plentiful, not always carefully tracked, determined soldiers sometimes access morphine without legitimate medical reason. Military-aware problem tried control. Syringe supposed issued only medical personnel, not carried regular infantry. But chaos combat, supplies mixed. First aid kits, Syringe ended wrong hands. Sometimes medics discreetly help soldier rough time even without physical injury. Compassionate impulse opened doors hard close. After war ended, many veterans came home morphine dependency. Numbers smaller after Civil War, World War I, military learned lessons limiting prolonged use, but still significant. Thousands men found unable function without morphine. Transition combat, morphine readily available, use normalized civilian life. Opioid use heavily stigmatized, controlled, brutal these veterans. Treatment programs addicted World War II veterans marginally better available after World War I, not much. Understanding addiction, brain disease still decades away. Most treatment focused willpower, discipline, simply enduring withdrawal. Success rates remained discouragingly low. Many veterans ended self-medicating alcohol, created own problems. But World War II teach military medicine something crucial. Morphine too important, abandoned despite risks. Benefits vastly outweighed dangers used appropriately. Challenge: not stop using morphine, use intelligently. Insight drove decades research, better pain management strategies, alternative delivery systems, eventually development new opioid compounds designed less addictive morphine. Course, as we'll see, last goal, creating less addictive opioids, proven medicine's white whale. Keep thinking achieved, keep wrong. That story later journey. Now, World War II ends. World tries rebuild, unimaginable destruction. Morphine's role, medicine secure. Proven across 3 major conflicts, saved millions' lives. Also created tens thousands addicts. Both true. Tension, impossible balance. Relief dependency defined morphine's story, rest 20th century beyond. But story morphine warfare far over. Next major conflict brewing. Asia. Introduce new variable equation. Soldiers heading Korea, later Vietnam, not just access medical morphine, fighting regions. Opium, heroin production endemic. Drug cheap, pure, everywhere. Combination military morphine use plus easy access street heroin create crisis. Change. America thought drugs, addiction, veterans forever. Collision inevitable. Consequences reverberate generations. If draw triangle map connecting borders Burma, Thailand, Laos, outline one productive opium growing region's human history, called Golden Triangle. Though nothing golden done generations people. 1960s, 70s, American soldiers about stationed right middle. Consequences reshape America's relationship. Drugs forever. Let's take late 1940s, right. World War II ends. Global heroin landscape about undergo massive shift. Understanding shift crucial. What happened to American soldiers 2 decades later? Before war, most world heroin produced Turkey, smuggled Europe, particularly Marseille, France, what became known French Connection, then distributed United States, other markets. Controlled organized crime, primarily Italian, Corsican mafias. But World War II disrupted everything. Supply routes destroyed.
Criminal networks shattered. Heroin trade temporarily collapsed. Power vacuum followed. Something interesting happened. Opium production Southeast Asia, significant, not dominant, suddenly became primary source global heroin supply. Not random. Result: complex political maneuvers involving nationalist Chinese forces, French colonial interests, CIA-backed anti-communist operations. Local warlords saw opium perfect cash crop funding armies. Geography: Golden Triangle perfect opium cultivation. Mountainous terrain, climate, relative inaccessibility make region ideal growing poppies. Unlike other agricultural products, opium incredible value-weight ratio. Farmer produce thousands dollars worth opium small plot land. Doesn't rot, doesn't require refrigeration. Easy transport. Poor farmers, one world's impoverished regions, opium represented economic survival. By early 1960s, Golden Triangle producing vast quantities opium. Much processed heroin, clandestine laboratories, hidden mountains, jungles. Heroin then smuggled markets world. But biggest market, profitable, eager, about arrive for millions young American men sent fight Vietnam. Vietnam War began gradually, American advisors arriving late 1950s, early 60s, escalated dramatically 1965. President Lyndon Johnson committed ground troops. Over next decade, approximately 4 million American service members served Vietnam, supporting roles Southeast Asia. 4 million young men, women, most barely high school, thrust war. Made no sense, no clear objectives, facing enemy couldn't identify. Climate, environment, felt another planet. Stressed, oh stressed. Vietnam not like previous wars. No front lines, no clear battles, no decisive victories. Patrol same village 10 times. Never no friendly farmer selling fruit. Morning, Viet Cong soldier trying kill night. Psychological toll immense. Sleep deprivation, constant fear, witnessing horrific violence, moral injuries, things soldiers saw ordered do. Created level psychological trauma, military completely unprepared handle. Military's response, soldier stress Vietnam. Relied heavily, same solution used previous wars, pharmacology. Morphine still available, physical injuries though. Point, military also using other opioids like Demerol. But more insidiously, military distributing amphetamines, speed, keep soldiers alert, long patrols. Barbiturates help sleep. Some estimates suggest American forces consumed more amphetamines Vietnam War. German military used World War II. Think moment. Millions young Americans, Southeast Asia, many using prescription drugs, function. All extreme stress, many experiencing physical, psychological pain. Medicine not adequately addressing. Now add one element, volatile mix. Incredibly pure, incredibly cheap heroin. Available virtually every street corner. Vietnam, Thailand, other areas American soldiers stationed. Heroin astonishingly easy obtain. Soldier buy heroin, easier buy American cigarettes. Sold markets, bars, street vendors, even children. Pure, not cut adulterated heroin American streets, but 70, 80, 90% pure. Dose cost $50, $100. United States purchased few dollars Saigon. Heroin came small vials, pre-measured, convenient. Soldiers didn't need inject, purity high. Smoking, snorting produced powerful effects. Important, many soldiers' psychological barrier, injection.
I'm not junkie, tell themselves. Junkies inject, I'm just smoking. Distinction allowed maintain control, even spiraled addiction. At first, use sporadic. Soldier try heroin, party, buddy offer, cope, particularly bad day. Effect immediate, powerful. All stress, fear, anger, pain disappeared. Few hours, Vietnam didn't exist. War didn't exist. Feel human, feel safe. After months' constant hypervigilance, relief, intoxicating itself. Military commanders initially underestimated scope. Problem: drug use officially prohibited, course, but enforcement sporadic, inconsistent. Some officers looked another way, figuring heroin kept soldiers functional, less likely crack stress, acceptable trade-off. Others tried crack hard, found nearly impossible. How enforce drug prohibition combat zone local populations selling drugs? Supply unlimited. Soldiers stressed, anything relief. By early 1970s, heroin use American troops Vietnam reached epidemic proportions. Department Defense Study 1971 found approximately 20% American service members Vietnam tried heroin. Roughly 10–15% using regularly. 10–15% means typical unit 100 men, 10–15 heroin users. Some units higher rates. Think implications. Not street addicts, career criminals. Regular American kids, farm boys Iowa, factory workers' sons Detroit. College students couldn't get deferments, volunteers believed serving country. Came every background, economic class, race. Significant percentage using heroin cope daily Vietnam reality. American public largely unaware scale problem until 1971, Congressman Robert Steele held hearings investigating drug use American troops. Findings shocking, generated enormous media coverage. Headlines screamed heroin epidemic Vietnam, panic hundreds, thousands addicted soldiers returning American cities, spreading addiction, driving crime rates roof. President Richard Nixon, seizing issue, declared drug abuse public enemy number one. Used Vietnam heroin crisis justify massive expansion drug enforcement treatment programs. June 1971, Nixon created Special Action Office Drug Abuse Prevention, dramatically increased funding addiction treatment. Beginning later called war drugs, though Nixon didn't use exact phrase time. But here's story takes surprising turn. When Vietnam veterans actually started coming home, large numbers, something unexpected happened. Most stopped using heroin. Not all, most. Studies followed veterans' return, found approximately 90% used heroin Vietnam, not continue once home. 90%. Completely contrary everyone expected. Why? How possible? Addiction supposed incredibly powerful force trapped people life. Yet thousands of young men using heroin regularly, months, even years, just stopped. What explained? Answer: revolutionized understand addiction. Turns environment matters enormously. Vietnam, soldiers' situation. Constant stress, fear, trauma. Heroin provided escape, unbearable reality. But home, America, even home not perfect, even struggled. Readjustment, fundamental context different. Not shot at, not watching friends die, not sleeping jungle, wondering tonight last. Remove extraordinary stressor, most people leave drug behind. Suggested addiction, not just drugs chemical hooks brain, also why using drug first place. If using heroin escape intolerable situation, then situation ended, might not need heroin anymore. Insight. Context, environment, crucial factors addiction. Groundbreaking. Psychologist Lee Robbins conducted extensive follow-up studies Vietnam veterans, published findings 1970s. Work demonstrated addiction far complex. Prevailing once addict, always addict model showed recovery possible even without formal treatment. Underlying circumstances drove drug use, changed. But, and important, still left 10% Vietnam veteran heroin users not stop, came home. 10% not sound much until math. If roughly 400,000 service members tried heroin Vietnam, 15% became regular users, 60,000 men. If 10% continued using returning home, talking 6,000 veterans came back serious heroin addictions not resolve own. 6,000 might seem small grand scheme, but each represents human tragedy. Men couldn't shake drug, found even back America, civilian life difficult, alienating, painful. Heroin remained preferable sobriety. Many untreated post-traumatic stress disorder, diagnosis not officially recognized until 1980. Nightmares, flashbacks, survivor's guilt, moral injuries, things did witnessed. Heroin, only thing quieted minds. Treatment infrastructure America 1970s completely inadequate. Influx addicted veterans. Methadone maintenance programs just beginning expand. Therapeutic communities existed, often hostile veterans, viewing different, real addicts. Veterans Administration hospitals overwhelmed, underfunded. Many addicted veterans fell cracks, ending homeless, incarcerated, dead overdoses. Particularly heartbreaking aspect Vietnam veteran heroin crisis often overlooked, stigma. Men came home unpopular war country, largely despised. Called baby killers, war criminals, dupes military-industrial complex. Couldn't get jobs employers didn't want hire Vietnam vets. Couldn't talk experiences nobody wanted here. Then, top, struggling heroin addiction labeled weak, immoral, criminal. Contrast World War II veterans treated stark. World War II vets came home heroes, even addiction problems. Vietnam vets came home pariahs, addiction problems seen proof moral failure rather consequences service. No wonder many Vietnam veterans report feeling isolated, damaged. America treated after war than war itself. Vietnam heroin crisis also fundamentally changed military approach drug use. After Vietnam, Department Defense implemented much stricter drug testing programs. Random urinalysis became standard. Soldiers discharged drug use. Goal: prevent another Vietnam-scale epidemic. Fair measures reduced drug use military, but also drove underground, created culture seeking help. Addiction became career suicide. What Vietnam experience really showed, though slow learn lesson, you cannot separate drug use context occurs. Soldiers used heroin Vietnam because Vietnam hell, heroin made hell bearable. When hell ended, most didn't need heroin anymore. Suggests solution: drug epidemics, not just better law enforcement, more treatment beds, addressing underlying reasons people feel need escape reality first place. But even military medicine grappling Vietnam heroin crisis, civilian medicine experiencing own morphine renaissance. Because 1960s, 70s, doctors rediscovering something important. Morphine used carefully, appropriately, incredible tool managing end-life pain suffering. Hospice movement emerging, transform, think death, dying. Morphine about become not curse, blessing millions patients' final days. Revolution palliative care, Recognition: dying patients deserve dignity, comfort. Morphine provide both. Represent morphine's redemption arc. After century creating addiction crises, wake wars, morphine prove force, profound compassion, mercy. Story: how happened, how remarkable woman England changed end-life care forever. That's next turn. Woman standing hospital corridor, London, 1948, watching patient die badly. Name: David Tasma. 40 years old, dying cancer, agony. Nurses bustle past, busy other patients. Doctors given up, nothing more do. David lies alone, noisy ward, terrified, pain, no one hold hand, listen, fears. Woman, young nurse, social worker named Cicely Saunders, watching, thinking, their better way. What Cicely Saunders witnessed, day change modern medicine. Spend next 2 decades building something revolutionary. Place dying, not treated, medical failure. Natural process deserving dignity, compassion, yes, generous amounts morphine. Prove morphine used wisely, one medicine's greatest gifts, rather curses. Work transform millions, experience end life. But backbit, because understand why palliative care revolutionary. Need understand dying mid-20th century. Not pleasant. 1950s, 60s, medicine achieved remarkable. Antibiotics saving people, infections killed generation earlier. Surgical techniques advancing rapidly. Cancer treatments like chemotherapy, radiation developed. Whole philosophy, modern medicine-oriented cure, fighting disease, extending life costs. Sounds great, right? Except many patients, particularly terminal cancers, incurable conditions, fight costs meant different. Meant subjected aggressive treatments, no realistic recovery hope. Meant spending final weeks, months hospital undergoing procedures made feel worse, not better. Most tragically, meant pain management often inadequate because doctors focused treating disease, forgot treating suffering. Pervasive attitude: mid-century medicine, aggressive pain management, particularly morphine, saved very end. Literally last days, hours, life. Reasoning: give patients strong opioids early, become addicted. Tolerance increase, really need drugs, end, won't work. Better let suffer now, medicine effective later. Imagine logic? Let someone suffer months, maybe drugs work better, final hours. Almost cruel calculation. Based fundamental misunderstanding, pain tolerance, addiction, work. Terminal cancer patients lie hospital beds, pain described unbearable. Told nurses, sorry, not time, next dose. Morphine given strict schedule, maybe every 4-6 hours, regardless, patient pain not. Agony hour 3, too bad, wait, turn. Philosophy: pain something endured, built character, made appreciate relief, finally came. World: Cicely Saunders decided change. After watching David Tasma die, long conversation what dying patients really needed. David, even final weeks, dreams. Wanted place, people, die peacefully. Surrounded beauty, compassion, without suffering, ignored, minimized. Gave Cicely £500, essentially entire estate, told, all window home. Cicely took gift, vision, ran. But first become doctor herself. Realized nurses, social workers, passionate, couldn't change medical protocols. Enrolled medical school, age 33, ancient standards time, graduated 6 years later. Spent years researching pain management, particularly terminal cancer patients, discovered revolutionary. Working St. Joseph's Hospice, London training, Saunders made systematic observations, Contradicted conventional medicine, believed pain morphine. Found, gave patients regular morphine doses before pain severe. Stayed ahead pain rather chasing. Actually needed less medication overall. Patients comfortable, alert, able to interact families. Contrary medical dogma, not becoming helpless addicts.
Becoming human beings, focus living remaining time, rather surviving pain. Saunders also developed concept called total pain. Recognize suffering end life, not just physical, emotional, fear death, abandonment, grief leaving loved ones. Social, isolation, loss, role identity, worry, burden. Spiritual, questions meaning, comes after, life mattered. Physical pain, emotional distress, social isolation, spiritual anguish interacted, amplified. Couldn't effectively treat one without addressing others. Holistic approach, radical. Medicine increasingly specialized, reductionist. Break body systems, treat each separately. Saunders saying, no, treat whole person. Need teams, doctors, nurses, social workers, chaplains, volunteers. Need listen. Patients, families actually need, not think need. 1967, Cicely Saunders founded St. Christopher's Hospice, London. First modern hospice designed provide comprehensive end-life care. Building welcoming large windows, natural light, spaces families gather, rooms felt home rather hospital. Approach pain management revolutionary. St. Christopher's, morphine given regularly, mouth before pain severe. Used liquid morphine mixed water, juice. Patients take easily, even swallowing pills difficult. Doses individualized, titrated carefully, each patient's needs increased without arbitrary limits. Pain required. Goal, comfort, not abstract addiction, fear people dying. Results, remarkable. Patients arrived St. Christopher's, terrible pain, under-medicated, months. Within days, become comfortable enough, engage life. Talk, families, share memories, say goodbyes, find peace. Many described feeling like first-time months. Morphine not make unconscious, incoherent. Proper dosing actually made present, aware, not consumed pain. Saunders' team also crucial discovery. Patients adequate pain control, not show tolerance dose escalation doctors feared. Yes, some needed increased doses time disease progressed, usually underlying condition worsening, not developing tolerance. And final days hours. Increase morphine needed without worrying wouldn't work patient used. Philosophy, regular morphine administration. What Saunders called by clock, not demand, spread St. Christopher's throughout United Kingdom, eventually worldwide. 1974, first hospice United States founded. Connecticut Florence Wald visited St. Christopher's, inspired saw hospice movement born. 1980s, approach cancer pain management. Saunders pioneered, codified international guidelines. World Health Organization developed, became known, WHO Pain Ladder. 1986, three-step approach. Step 1, mild pain. Use non-opioid analgesics like acetaminophen, ibuprofen. Step 2, moderate pain. Add weak opioids like codeine. Step 3, severe pain. Use strong opioids like morphine. Crucial message: match pain medication strength, intensity pain, not withhold effective medication. Fear morphine became recognized gold standard severe cancer pain. Not only option, other opioids like hydromorphone, oxycodone, fentanyl also effective. But morphine inexpensive, well-studied, available multiple formulations. Used properly, extremely safe, effective. Phrase morphine cancer pain became synonymous. Compassionate, appropriate medical care. Research palliative care settings. 1980s-90s confirmed Saunders saying along. Patients receiving adequate morphine terminal cancer pain rarely became psychologically addicted. Yes, bodies physically dependent, meaning experience withdrawal, morphine suddenly stopped. But very different addiction. Addiction characterized compulsive use despite harm, lost control, continued use despite desire stop. Cancer patients taking morphine pain showed none characteristics. Pain decreased, resolved, reason, reduce. Stop morphine without difficulty. Distinction, physical dependence, psychological addiction became crucial. Meant doctors prescribe morphine, legitimate pain without paralyzing fear, creating addicts. Meant patients take morphine without stigma, shame, associated drug addiction. Represented fundamental shift medicine understood opioids. 1990s. Morphine use, palliative care, standard practice worldwide. Studies showed over 90% patients hospice care received opioids final weeks, morphine far commonly prescribed. Many dying patients, morphine made difference, unbearable suffering death while still sad, peaceful, dignified. Countless stories, hospice nurses transformative effect adequate morphine. Terminal cancer patient not smiled months, but after proper pain control, enjoy grandchildren's visit. Elderly man dying heart failure, finally sleep night without gasping air. Morphine eased pain, breathlessness. Woman made peace estranged daughter final days, comfortable enough difficult conversations. Morphine also proved valuable symptoms beyond pain. Remarkably effective treating severe breathlessness and life. That terrifying sensation not enough air. Low doses morphine reduced dyspnea sensation without significantly depressing breathing. Patients dying lung disease, heart failure, difference, drowning, panic, dying peacefully. Modern hospice palliative care also developed increasingly sophisticated ways to deliver morphine. Beyond traditional oral liquid, Saunders pioneered now extended-release morphine tablets last 12-24 hours. Morphine suppositories patients can't swallow. Subcutaneous morphine injections, oral administration no longer possible. Continuous morphine infusions delivered portable pumps. All technology serves one goal, matching morphine delivery patient needs. Success. Morphine palliative care represents one medicine's genuine triumphs. After century grappling morphine's dark side, addiction, overdoses, ruined lives, medicine finally figured use powerful drug meant tool reducing suffering, instrument compassion, way honor human dignity vulnerable moment existence. But, and complicated again, very success morphine palliative care contributed massive overcorrection. Medicine thought opioid prescribing general. Because if morphine safe, appropriate dying cancer patients, some doctors, pharmaceutical companies reasoned, why not use liberally kinds chronic pain? If been too stingy opioids past, maybe now more generous. What possibly go wrong logic? What went wrong, catastrophically, devastatingly, was opioid epidemic late 20th, early 21st centuries. Pharmaceutical disaster make heroin crisis 1920s look small comparison. Crisis fueled OxyContin, overprescribing, corporate greed disguised compassion, doctors genuinely thought helping, actually feeding, epidemic, kill hundreds, thousands. Pendulum about swing, undertreating pain creating mass addiction, morphine's chemical cousins center all.
1995, pharmaceutical company Purdue Pharma launched drug claimed revolutionized pain management. Called OxyContin, time-released formulation oxycodone designed to provide 12 hours pain relief, single pill. Marketing brilliant, sales pitch compelling, consequences absolutely catastrophic. What happened next? Not just medical mistake, disaster built, lies, greed, willful blindness, warning signs visible very beginning. Let's take early 1990s, understanding context crucial, how ended here. Point story, morphine redeemed palliative care. Hospice movement shown, opioids used compassionately, effectively dying patients. Genuinely good progress, created intellectual environment questioning opioid use became associated cruelty, withholding relief, suffering patients. Same time, growing movement medicine take pain seriously. Decades, centuries really, medicine treated pain, inevitable part illness, something patients endure. But 1980s, 90s, pain specialists arguing pain harmful. Chronic, untreated pain created physiological changes nervous system, allowing patients suffer not just unkind, actually bad medicine. Lead became known pain fifth vital sign movement. Idea pain assessed, documented alongside blood pressure, pulse, temperature, respiratory rate. Every patient visit include pain assessment.